Military government has executed 4 democracy activists in what's believed to be the first use of the death penalty there in decades.
These military generals can take away the body of these democratic leader of Myanmar, but they cannot take away their visions and our will for our freedom.
Also today, a constitutional referendum in Tunisia. Is it a return to strongman rule in the birthplace of the Arab Spring? And as Hollywood dramatizes the nail-biting rescue of 12 young Thai footballers and their coach from an underground cave, we'll hear from those who were involved.
Unbelievable when you think about it. It's difficult to sort of explain the amount of people that were in here, the amount of equipment that was being moved. It was an amazing scene, really.
All of that and more coming up after the news.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The UN Special Rapporteur on the human rights situation in Myanmar says he believes the military authorities there are using the execution of opposition figures as a way of intimidating the population after the junta is carrying out its first official death sentences in decades. Speaking to the BBC, Tom Andrews suggested the military could carry out further executions.
There are more than 140 people on death row right now. We have seen the depths of depravity of this regime seem to know no limits whatsoever. So this is an absolute horrific situation that is going on. And now I believe the junta is attempting to instill even greater fear in the population. And in talking to colleagues today, their view is this is going to do nothing more than escalate the violence and the conflict in the country.
Earlier, state media in Myanmar reported the deaths of 4 people, including 2 well-known pro-democracy figures, the long-time political activist Chaw Min-yu and the musician and elected politician Pyo Zayador. Tunisians have been voting in a referendum on a controversial new constitution that will make permanent extra powers that were seized a year ago by the president Kais Saied. The changes would subordinate parliament under the president and remove most checks on his authority. India has sworn in its first president from a minority tribal background. At her swearing-in ceremony, Draupadi Murmu said she took great satisfaction that people who had been deprived of the chance to progress for centuries could see their reflection in her. Ms Murmu, who's a member of the governing BJP, is only the second woman to serve in the largely ceremonial post. The authorities in South Africa have begun the process of extraditing the Gupta brothers from the United Arab Emirates. They served an extradition request on prosecutors in Dubai. Atul and Rajesh Gupta are accused of paying bribes in exchange for lucrative state contracts and influence over ministerial appointments during the presidency of Jacob Zuma, which ended amid allegations of systematic corruption. Nomsa Maseko reports.
The Gupta brothers are wanted in South Africa on charges of fraud and money laundering amounting to just over $1.2 million. They've been living in the UAE since they fled South Africa 4 years ago after a judicial commission of inquiry started investigating their alleged involvement in massive government corruption. Ajay Gupta, the third brother, is not in custody as an arrest warrant for him was revoked. He is accused of attempting to bribe a public servant by offering him the post of finance minister in return for state tenders.
Human Rights Watch says the M23 rebel group has summarily executed at least 29 civilians in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo within the last month. It's thought the rebels killed 17 people they suspected had informed the Congolese army about M23 positions. BBC News. It's been